Welcome to Business Raw Podcast with Julia Scoville, where you can find raw stories and roaring success of entrepreneurship. And today's episode is all about wearing different hats, right? I've got amazing guest Louise Long. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And the reason why I wanted to interview Louise is to bring to everyone a reminder that as a business owner, we don't wear just one hat, most likely. We wear many, many hats. And that can be a hat of a parent, brother, sister, wife, husband, and also obviously being an entrepreneur. It all comes down to you. And I just want to highlight that, I guess, way of living for all our listeners. Louise is running her own practice, which is Louise Long Fitness, online fitness, right? Will that be correct? Yeah. So Louise actually is a personal trainer, but also functional nutritionist. She does help women along the lines of different ages. And I guess you said, mainly 40 plus? Would that be correct?
Yes,
Or any
kind of 35 to 40 who are sort of at the early stages or moving into navigating perimenopause. And the changes that we typically go through at that age.
Fantastic. So I am dying to find out, how did you came to do what you do?
I have worn many hats. When I was younger, I was always obsessed with horses and actually trained in equine sports science, got all of my teaching qualifications and became a riding instructor. And then kind of got to where I wanted to be at the age of 20. And I felt like my ceiling was capped. And I think I have always had that entrepreneurial kind of mindset. And I just remember thinking, I can't go anywhere really from here. And so I then trained in hair and makeup because I really wanted to get better at doing my own. So I thought I'm going to become a makeup artist, and did that for a few years and did mainly weddings, and then got pregnant with my first child. And I just remember thinking, actually, I can't really juggle this around being a mum. I wanted to be a mum that was at home looking after them. My parents didn't live local to us. They live in Devon. I'm in Surrey. So I wanted to make sure I was there for them. And in the process of having my first son, I then lost 5 stone after having him. Because I'd lost weight and people were wondering, how I'd done it, I just naturally then got into helping other women, and I loved it. I think I've always been one of these people that wants to help and make other people feel better about themselves. So I trained as a personal trainer, and then again, I think I wanted to do more than just kind of train people. I really wanted to become a coach, and I wanted to understand about how nutrition can affect us. I remember I went to a seminar years ago, and they spoke very, very briefly about nutrition. It was about lots of other things, but there was a doctor talking about nutrition and the impact of fruits and vegetables and how eating well can really, impact you. And it just sparked something in me, and I was so interested. And from that kind of conversation, I remember just changing the way I thought about nutrition, which was how I originally really lost the weight. I trained in nutrition from that, and that's where my kind of business came from, and I just kind of evolved from that onwards, really.
Fantastic. Love your story, and love that you deepen your knowledge, right? From your personal experience, you went on a journey, people were asking for your help, but then also you decided to deepen your knowledge in those areas, and now combining two, helping women transform not just only their bodies, but their minds as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me, is that I really wanted to educate myself correctly, because we all know there's so much noise, especially around women's diet, the diet industry, and how we feel about ourselves, what we've kind of grown up believing. And I didn't just want to fall into being another fad diet, or women coming and getting a little, a few results, but not then being able to maintain it. I really wanted to look into how we could change habits, how we could really work on women's mindsets, which I think is so powerful. That was the biggest thing for me, was my mindset. You've got lots of people saying, oh, we'll just eat less and move more. Simply put, yes, but it's not that simple, and as we said, women wear so many different hats. We very rarely forget to look after ourselves, that women really need support in that area.
I love that. Yeah, if it was that simple, everyone would have done it, right? Just eat less, exercise more. We know what we need to do, but very often, like you said, we forget to do it or we don't put value in it, and it's
Yeah,
mindset.
yeah,
I always say 95% of mindset, 5% of strategy.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, if your mindset is not there, forget about all the fancy plans and nutrition plans, right? It just doesn't mean anything. So I love your approach, and obviously being mom myself, and going through exactly the same journey with the weight gain. It is important to make sure that it is sustainable lifestyle, and you change that approach. And yes, it's great to have you who can actually offer that to women, and like you said, just cancel the noise,
Yes,
right? Cancel
exactly.
the
Yeah,
noise, because there's so
completely.
much.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to find out. I know the way how you work with women. You offer something called Empower Hour,
Mhm.
right? So tell me more about that.
So the Empower Hour was created because when I look back into my journey and what I did, I thought, what are we missing here? Like, I can tell everyone, all of the ladies that I'm working with, here's what you need to do. But it felt like everyone was, oh, yeah, okay, I'll get to that, or I'll do that at some point in my day. I felt like I was just giving them another thing to do on top of an already busy list. And what was the missing link was that women weren't putting themselves first. Yeah, I'll eat well when next week's not so busy, or I'll fit in the gym in the evening, but by that time you're knackered. So I was like, that it just isn't working. There's something with all the women that I'm working with and myself that that's not working. So we created the Empower Hour, which is where you get up. And often I do encourage my ladies to get up a little bit earlier. And everyone who comes on board goes, oh, I don't think I can get up earlier, until they've tried it. And then they do it and they're like, why have I not done this sooner? And it's that hour, and it doesn't have to be an hour. If an hour's too difficult at the beginning, we start with 15 minutes. The point is, it's for you, and it's that time to exercise. I do always encourage you, if you can, to exercise, but actually sometimes I just say to my ladies, don't exercise, just sit and have a cup of tea, or sit and have a cup of coffee, or sit and journal, or sit and meditate. But do that, and we start off very small. So if you can't do an hour, you do half an hour. If you can't do half an hour, you do 15 minutes. And I really work with women to create that time and space for them, because once we've created that, and once we've made that into a habit, and it just becomes something they naturally do, then we can start to build in their health and fitness goals. But until you've got that time and you're putting it to yourself, you're not going to do it. Because, like you said, we all know what we should be doing, and we do, but we're not putting ourselves first. And I say to everyone, we are, as women, typical caregivers, we want to look after everyone else. But unless you do it first yourself, and it's not selfish. I think it's necessary. I think we've almost been ingrained to think, but if we put ourselves first, it becomes selfish. But actually, when we look at, what do they tell you on the plane? Put your own oxygen mask on first. And that's what I teach. Put your own oxygen mask on, because if you are looking after yourself better, you can then pour into everyone else's cup. You can look after everyone else's, better. And I see that so many times with the ladies that I work with. When we created the Empower Hour and started to bring the programs to life, the difference we saw was huge. And I always do check-ins with my ladies, and we just started a new 8-week program, and every single one of them said at the end of the check-in, I felt proud of myself, which I think for women to say that as well. And it wasn't perfect, and there's been, days where they haven't done what they meant to, but they know what to do to correct that. And the fact that they are proud of themselves, I think, is just, again, a huge mindset shift into making them feel like they're moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. And I think starting your day with a winning mindset, right? Like you accomplish something, you want those 15 minutes to start
Absolutely.
with.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
absolutely like a feeder for the rest of the day, isn't it?
And you're not on your phone, and you're not on your emails, and you're not getting bombarded by everyone else. You're just starting it with you. And I think it's just powerful. It's so powerful.
I can really relate, because when I took myself on a journey of shifting the weight, and I was given task to go for walk and wake up early. I was an early bird. I was like a late owl, was going to bed like midnight, 11, the earliest, 1 o'clock sometimes. So for me, that was a huge challenge to set myself alarm for 6 o'clock. I was like, oh my God, how I'm going to do this, dreading it. Nevertheless, I did wake up and I went for a walk, and luckily it was like summer. It was like beautiful morning. And oh my God, I was like, I was missing out all this. I was craving this all of my life, and I didn't realize. Next day, I couldn't wait to go to bed. I couldn't wait to set that alarm. It just was so refreshing. It was like almost like I was so thirsty,
Yeah,
and so much water
yeah,
poured at me. So absolutely can relate to that.
it's
You
amazing.
empower hour. That's brilliant. So you work with women online, and tell me how, I guess, your personal journey helped you to shape you as a coach. The I guess, like you said, you've been a mum, right? So I guess what actually I want to ask you, because throughout your personal journey, you became mum of three children, right? But you had quite traumatic experience. Would you like to share with us, like, what has happened, and I guess how you navigated that, being mom, being entrepreneur, being a wife, because that event was so demanding.
Yeah, so I think another part of my journey and why I'm so passionate about women, not just women's nutrition, but actually whole family nutrition, is because I think my kids have always been my biggest why. They've always been my driver, my family, not just my kids, my husband too. But from the moment they came along, I think they've always been the thing that's made me want to change and be better and keep working on myself to be best. And as you say, I've got three children, two boys and a girl. And in 2020, my business was getting to a really exciting stage, and I was growing really well online. We were creating this incredible community of women that were just getting amazing results. And I remember going into 2020 just being so excited. Like 2020 was the year, wasn't it? We were all so excited at the beginning of the year before we knew what was about to happen. And I just felt in a really great place. And then my middle son, Dylan, who was 6 at the time, he just had his 6th birthday in March. He suddenly one day had a seizure. And this was literally as we went into lockdown. So it came from nowhere. We didn't really understand what was going on. We took him to the to A&E. They couldn't really understand what was happening. Anyway, that kind of happened on and off for a while. And we were navigating, obviously, the kids being off school because the country had gone into lockdown, and trying to find out what was happening with him, not wanting to take him to hospital because obviously everyone was so scared of COVID. And eventually we were told that he was diagnosed with a brain tumour. So that was in May, and just obviously completely shocked us, because no one expects anything like that to happen to them, do they, let alone their children.
Yeah, so it's from the January to May, literally just like 5 months, right? Your
Yeah.
life
Yeah,
got
just
turned.
completely. So obviously we spent that year from 2020 to 2021 navigating Dylan's journey. And I was amazed at the time when he was diagnosed, knowing that he was going to go on chemotherapy and radiotherapy, something that would attack his immune system, that no one took the time to talk to us about his nutrition and how to better. Also, I found through obviously experience that when you've got a child who's going through chemotherapy and radiotherapy, their taste buds change, their appetite changes, they're on medication that can affect all of that. And again, no one would talk to us about, here's what you can do to really help his diet. And again, because I had a very basic understanding of that at the time, I wanted to keep his strength up as much as I could. So I just remember thinking, I feel very lonely on this side. They've told us that we've got zero chance of Dylan surviving this brain tumour. All kind of hope was taken away. But I remember thinking, well, there's got to be something that we can do. So research, because that's what I do. I love to do research. I love to find out as much as I can. So I did a lot of research into what could potentially help. And whilst it didn't save his life, we sadly lost him in June 2021. The impact it made to the last year of his life was huge. The quality of his life was amazing. He was able to go back to school. He was able to go back to football. He loved football. He was never on any other medication apart from his anti-seizure medication. He wasn't on steroids just before he died. So he looked like Dylan. And I think that is really down to the fact that we were able to give him such good nutrition. And I think it really did make such a difference to his journey. And I think from there, after we sadly lost him, we then started a charity called the Dylan Strong Foundation, which is where we now support families with that nutritional advice. So something that we just felt was really lacking. So we take healthier food into hospitals, and we take and we deliver food parcels to the families at home. And I think navigating that as a mum, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur was really, really difficult. And I had to, again, really think about my children and my family and how to navigate that, maybe take a bit of a step back from the business, and then also give myself time to grieve and understand what had happened, because it all happened so quickly, and then really think about and kind of evaluate about what I now want, where I want to go from now. And I think my passion is even stronger, is that I want to be a clear guide to women in, you know, how to lose weight, but lose it the right way, to feel really good about losing weight. You know, I think there's so many things that women are doing now that aren't probably the best, but they're doing it because they're so desperate to be smaller. And I want to, just support women to really help them understand, actually, if you look after yourself now, in 20, 25 years, you're going to be so strong because of that. And obviously health is a massive driving force into what I do.
Well, number one, you know, just like I feel so sorry, right, for your loss. And I can't even imagine as a parent, like, how would you navigate something like this, right? How would you feel? And like you said, it's been happening so quick, but then also you've got other two children, you've got husband, you've got business. There is so much demand on you. And exactly what you said, in situations like that, it's all on you as a woman, but then there is also space, has to be some sort of space in that for you for yourself. So tell me more, how, like, what your days, you know, like you said, there was a moment when you wanted to maybe take a pause from your business, but you didn't.
No, not really. No, I think
What been happening for you? Like, how did you navigate that? How did you, I guess, remain present for your children, for Dylan at the time as well, for your husband, for your customers? You know, I think that's so, like, I honestly, like, I can't even imagine. Like, it requires so much strength.
I think I've always been an optimistic person, so I've always looked to, you know, on the brighter side of things, and that's always really helped me. And I've always been a busy person. I'm not someone who can sit and rest very easily. So I think part of it was a bit of a distraction. Part of it, I needed to work because that gave me space to, I suppose, get away from my reality. And I loved the feeling of knowing that I was helping others. That's something that that's always really helped me. But I think I needed to be very careful once we kind of lost Dylan, and then I needed to make sure I was very careful, and probably didn't do it the best sometimes, is that I didn't then overload myself with too much work. And if you speak to probably most of my family and my friends, they'll say she worked far too hard. I was very lucky that I didn't burn out, because I think there was definite times where I'd just taken far too much on because it was an escape. I didn't have to then think about what I was going through, and I didn't have to think about, you know, the awful situation that we were all in as a family. I think I definitely spent probably a year just not processing it. I didn't want to go there. And then I think the cracks started to show, and I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and my anxiety got really quite bad. I got to a place where I just felt I wasn't coping. And I think because I had my two others and my husband, and again, you know, all of our family had been through so much, I didn't want to be another thing that they had to cope with. You know, I knew I needed to look after myself. Again, it came back to me. If I can look after myself better, I can then look after everyone else better. So I was very fortunate that I was able to get diagnosed privately and then have treatment for PTSD. And I think I spent a year really working on myself with my therapist, and that was one of the best things to have gone through. It was really, really difficult, really hard, and I had to go actually away for a week to have a really intense course, and then I was able to kind of navigate the rest around looking after the children and everything. But that was probably the hardest thing, or one of the hardest things I've ever done, but equally one of the best things I've done, again, I'm looking after myself so I can look after everyone else, and given me a better understanding as well how to support my children through their loss and their grief and bereavement and trauma, because children shouldn't have to go through what my two have, but I wanted them to be able to see grief for what it is. And someone described it a while ago as it's a bit like glitter. It gets into every single part of you, but it doesn't always have to be scary and grey. Actually, parts of it can be, real shimmers of light and really lovely. And grief is the connection now that we still have towards Dylan. So I never want my grief to go away, but I needed to learn to deal with it and deal with the emotions that come with it.
Love that. And I love that you being prime example of what you teach, putting that oxygen mask on yourself first. You had to, right? I think that's just black and white example. If you didn't, consequences and sufferings that you will create as a result for your family, for your children, will be far too much, far too greater. So actually even taking yourself out, like you said, for a week from the family is what much needed and gave you so much back and everyone else. And taking care of yourself and taking responsibility for taking care of yourself.
Yes.
That's the best thing you could have offered to your family, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really hard as women as well, because you then get so much guilt, don't you, around, but I should be there, I should be present. But when I look back now, I wasn't present, because I was almost like I was just living in this cloud of grief and bereavement and trauma. So I wasn't there, and I was stressed a lot of the time, and I wasn't present. So by taking myself out for that time, enabled me to come back and be better.
And I love that you're also focusing on a lighter side of, grievance and losing someone who lost both parents relatively close to each other. And then my grandma, going through that grief, it's also made me, and my business was like, actually, my story, I didn't sustain that business. I've started and I just thought, you know what, I really can't. So I took a step away from it. I closed it down. Just like realize it's just really me time. I can't give anything to anyone. I need to give it to me before anything. So like what you sharing right now, I think is so important in when you feel like you're hitting the rock bottom, right? And you feel like there is nothing to give. But you think just a little bit, like you said, I'll squeeze a little bit more, maybe something will change and this will get better. No, stop, right? Go and sort yourself out, because nobody will. Nobody can fix you, and apart from ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible. So I guess going through all that with your family, also at the same time growing your business, sustaining your clients, being present as well, because when you in a field of being personal trainer and coach, you have to be positive yourself, right? You can't turn up to the coaching session and be all sad or, full of your whatever stuff is going through your head. So how did you do that? How did you, I guess, encourage yourself to remain positive and support your clients in that way?
I think it's where I probably transitioned slightly into not doing the one-to-one work as much, because I found it, if I'm honest, really exhausting in that, I would be talking to some of my clients and be battling, just not bursting into tears or and like you said, as a personal trainer and someone who's relying on you to be that positivity, sometimes it was really, really difficult. And I think it got better as, I suppose, the years went on. I think I just had to really think about what I wanted and what I wanted to show up, and navigating running my business and the charity as well. I just needed to be really organised with my time and really think about what I loved doing, and then going down that. So the online work kind of took over more, and I was able to give so much more, but without it being individual. And I think, I was able to, one of my biggest things that I love to do is connect with every single one of my clients. They're not just a sale to me. I want to know them. I want to know their stories. I want to connect with them. And their results really mean something to me. I think, again, there's lots of apps right now and lots of things that we can do, anything with, but that connection can't be felt through anything else but actual connection. And that's what I love about what I do now. And I think my clients, I absolutely do. And I think they know my journey. So they know if I don't show up and be perfect, actually that's okay. And I think sharing my story more and more, and I share that that I suffer still with anxiety, and whether that's perimenopause or whether that's, because of what I've gone through, who knows? But I think the more I share and almost show that I'm not perfect, that helps me connect with the women that I'm talking to. So I think kind of showing up and sharing the highs and lows as well just really helps all of us go, oh, okay, it's not another person on Instagram trying to show up and be perfect. Actually, I show up when I'm not. And I think that's really important as well.
Absolutely. And you're right. There is this kind of shiny syndrome, right? With the social media, we've got this huge comparison, to shiny objects, but it's all constructed, right? It's all not real, because we know in real life, we're human beings. We expose to emotions and
also,
feelings.
it's your perception, isn't it? You're looking at everyone else is best bits. You're looking at their best bits and how you take it, but you're so self-critical. So we're so hard on ourselves, but we see the best in everyone else. And whenever I do check-ins with my ladies, every single one of them will almost say, and I can guarantee that they'll say, it looks like everyone else is doing so well, and I haven't done this, 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 and this. And I'm like, yeah, but look at all the things you have done. So I start with, you think you haven't done as well, but actually you've done this, 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 and this. Don't worry about anybody else, because no one's living in your life. No one's doing what you're doing. And I think, again, losing Dylan and rebuilding my business, I spent probably a year and a half wasting with the imposter syndrome, and that online coach is very similar to me, but her business is just soaring and she's doing so well, or that fitness coach, or, I would look at other people and think, well, how are they doing so well? And in the end, I just thought, this is not helping me. No one is me. No one is living in what I am. So I'm just going to focus on me, come back to me, focus on being the best version of me that I can be, the best mum, the best coach. I don't always get it right, and I absolutely don't. Tech seems to hate me. Again, all my clients will laugh because they know tech just hates me. I think we had a conversation about this before, because no matter what I do, I get it wrong, and it takes me hours. But I just learn from it. You learn from these things, and instead of thinking, oh, that's another thing that's not worked, I'm like, right, okay, that was a bump in the road, let's go again. And I think probably because what I've gone through, it's just given me that real determination and grit to just keep going, rather than,
and resilience, isn't it? Resilience. Absolutely. Never give up, keep going.
And you need that when you're losing weight, because one day you'll feel amazing, the next day you won't, and there'll be no reason other than your mindset. I call them like your mind monkeys playing tricks on you. And you have to just keep going and ignore the noise and just keep focused on that end goal.
Absolutely. I love that. I always say, watch your lane, don't watch other lanes, right? Just watch your lane. And also your result gets measured not by end goal, but actually the starting point.
Yeah.
Because, we all got different starting points.
Yeah.
And that journey for someone can be so long and so hard and whatever.
Messy, isn't it? I think we think it's that straight line from A to B, but actually it's all of the messy, it's the messy middle, isn't it? And I talk again a lot about this, like when you start, your starting is easy, everyone's motivated, and the end goal is there. But what happens in the messy middle? That's what you've got to just keep focused on and keep working, no matter what it looks like, because then you get to the end of it. Whereas if you keep giving up, you just keep going back to that starting point. You never get closer.
I love that. I heard a phrase that overnight success takes 10 years of making.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, I love that, Louise, and your determination and how you, I guess, navigated this. And your key moment, like what I'm getting out for myself, is when you are struggling, don't fool yourself to think it's going to change or something will change or just a little bit longer, a little bit more. Stop and put that oxygen mask on yourself, right? That's the best thing you can do, because you can then perform much better, right? You can be more present.
Definitely. And I think, we're in such a fast-paced world now. There's so much pressure on women to be able to do everything, and we are judged whether we work or whether we stay at home. whether we earn money or we don't. We're judged on, how quickly we can bounce back after having children. I think there's such a pressure on women to be just everything, but actually you don't need to be everything. Just do what feels right for you and try again. Because of social media, I think that there's all of this pressure, but that pressure is often what we also do put on ourselves. Just be you and be the best version of you, and what that looks like for you and your family, I think is just so important. And it takes then the pressure off that you've got to be this person or this person. Just focus on being the best version of yourself and the rest will follow.
Absolutely. And I'm sure if we ask our families, would you rather prefer to have happy mum or perfect mum, right? And I'm sure everyone will say happy mum. Give me happy mum any day. I
Exactly.
don't want that grumpy mum who just all stressed out, not present.
Absolutely. And taking time for yourself, again, it's not selfish. It makes you happier. It makes you less stressed because actually you've just done something for you. I went to a retreat last Friday. It was a business retreat, but it was amazing. And the perfect example of how our brains can kind of take over is, as I was on my way up, I was thinking, what am I doing? I was around 35 female founders and I was thinking, well, I'm a personal trainer. Like, what am I doing going up there? And my hair didn't look right. I didn't think my outfit looked right. And as soon as I turned up into this just amazing room, it was at the Corinthia Hotel in London, so beautiful venue. And I was like, I just walked in and the warmth of the room was amazing, first of all. But I had one lady come up to me. She was like, oh my God, I love your outfit. Now, I just spent the half hour on the way up going, oh, what do I look like? I don't think I've dressed right. And then someone else came up to me and said, oh, I love how you've done your hair. How have you done that? So all of my insecurities that I'd almost convinced myself not to go for, then other people were saying, oh, I love that about you. And it was just really, again, empowering. And I nearly didn't go because I let those thoughts take over, which I think, again, is what happens so often to so many of us. When we let those thoughts take over, it can stop us doing the one thing we want to do.
Absolutely. So, like looking back on that time, that you went through, which obviously was quite tough. If you look at it again and give yourself advice, would be anything that you would have done differently? What would have you said to yourself? Like now, obviously, going through it.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? I think I wouldn't change anything because I think it's made me who I am now, and where I am right now, I feel really good about. So I wouldn't necessarily change things, but I would probably give myself a bit more. I'd probably take the pressure off myself and just be a lot more kinder to myself from the very beginning. I think it was the fact that I just didn't want to even consider what had actually happened. So I think I just thought, if I just keep working and I keep going, that's probably the thing that I would change, is I would actually just stop and just maybe sit with how I was feeling better. I wanted to chase away. I didn't want the feelings to catch up with me because I thought I wouldn't be able to cope. And I think we all have that worry that, well, what if I stop and then the floodgates open? What if I can't then stop those floodgates? That was a real worry for me. And the therapist said to me, but that's not going to happen. No one just cries forever. But again, it's those thoughts, isn't it, that we just let them take over. So I think giving myself a little bit more grace and a little bit more maybe understanding. But, what I went through is what's helped me get to where I am now. And I know the next 5 years of my life will be very different. And however I think having the flexibility to just go with what presents you and trust your gut. Now, trust your gut and go with it. Yeah.
I like what you said, like, what I'm gathering from you is perhaps maybe facing the fears much sooner and be present. Like you said, that fear of, oh my God, I'm going to open this huge flood of emotions. Would I cope?
Yeah.
Would it ever stop? But actually, like you said, facing them with help, like you had someone to help you.
I think that's really important as well. Yeah. I luckily, I was very fortunate. I know it's something it's a real struggle to be able to get the right help. I was fortunate. But having that support and having a support network around you, use your support network. I think I was very, very lucky. Again, we've got incredible support. My family, my husband's family, they just picked us up when, I didn't think we'd be able to carry on, they were there. And I think to lean on that community around you as well. People want to help you. And I think I almost felt ashamed sometimes to say, I can't do all of this. And to actually say it almost got stuck in my throat. But actually, I think people were waiting to go, thank goodness you can't do it all, and actually let us help you. And when I let my guard down and let people help, it then involved them, and they then became, part of the journey moving forward, which I think is really important. And just to remember that asking for help is absolutely not a weakness. It shows a sign of actual bravery, because you've been brave enough to do that and embrace it.
And also, I can really relate to what you're saying. I'm not really good at asking for help, for sure. But then, you made me think and answer this question. And I'm sure I know what you're going to answer, but I'm going to ask you, when you face the fear and ask for help, like you said, it's feeling of shame, whatever. Has anyone said to you, what? I'm not going to give you help. What? You must be joking. This is shameful to ask for help.
Yeah, never. Exactly. Never. I think people are desperate, oh, absolutely, I'd love to help you with that. Or again, I think what I have to understand is I know what I'm good at, and I definitely know what I'm now not good at. So getting people to help me with the things that I'm not good at can help me be better at the things I am good at. And I think, again, it comes from us understanding we don't have to be that person that does everything. I really understand, as I said now, what I am very good at and what I am not very good at. And I think that's only going to help me. And looking at everyone as individuals, everyone has different strengths, and it doesn't mean you're weak. It just means that we're all different. And actually, that's how we can then all help and support each other.
And having that now present and going through that experience, does that help you in any way in your business, knowing that what you're good at and what you're not, and where do you need to ask for help and where you can fully capable?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's two ways. I think when you're obviously starting a business, or obviously I started and then had a bit of a transition period and then restarted as such, it's very difficult because I know exactly who I need to help me, but it's whether the business can finance it sometimes at the start. So sometimes you do have to be that all person. But then I suppose it's making the right decisions financially then when you can, to go, actually, someone's going to be far better at marketing my business than I am, so I'm going to pay someone. And it's almost, again, making that decision about how to better your business and you by delegating that. And again, if you're not in a position where you can financially afford it, asking or using your time and resources to the best of your ability to get to the next stage. I think that's really important. As a CEO, if I look at I love to study women. I love to study women who are in business and hugely successful. I'm listening at the moment to a lot of Emma Greed's stuff because I just think she's incredible. And, when I look at her, I think she doesn't do everything. She knows what she's good at. Again, Mel Robbins, she's known for being good at what she's good at, but then she asked for help in the other areas. And I think, we've got to stop thinking we've got to do it all and actually be brave enough to, find those people.
Absolutely. One of my mantras when I work with clients, I install, whenever task lands on your desk, or, you've got email or whatever, some sort of action, the first question to always ask, who can do it for me? Never ever do it yourself, because that list to do is never ending and you would never ever will finish that list. So just accept the fact that you can't do it.
Yeah.
There are only 24 hours, so physically you can't do it. So the best way you can adopt, who can do it for me, right? Whether it's paid, unpaid, favors, automation, before you action it yourself. Who can do it for me?
It's a good one.
Brilliant. So tell me more about Dylan Strong Foundation charity. So how long been your charity, I guess, existed, and also what's your aim with the charity? Briefly mention about the nutrition part of it, and just give me a bit of more idea. What's your vision with that?
So the Dylan Strong Foundation was started it was March 2022, because that was Dylan was born in March, so we started it, we launched it in March 2022, but got our official charity status in June 2022. And both of the dates were quite, we just found them quite amazing, actually, because obviously we launched it in March, which would have been his 8th birthday. And we got our charity status the year before the anniversary of his death, because we lost him in June. So both of those are kind of, important dates. And the two biggest things that we now do within the charity is, one, as I said, we take healthier food options into hospitals. So we do that in a variety of ways. We mainly stock parents' rooms of children's wards. So in the parents' rooms where there's a fridge or a freezer and maybe some cupboards, we take healthier food choices and like microwave meals. So one, parents always have access to food. Children always have access to food, and it's a variety. So if your child's gluten-free, dairy-free, obviously most are nut-free anyway, there's something there for them to eat. And then also the families, once they're at home, we support them by delivering a care package. So once they become a family of the Dylan Strong Foundation, every month they receive a box of frozen meals that obviously goes in the freezer, and then they can just help themselves as and when they need it, because it's exhausting when you're in and out of hospital. You've got other children potentially to feed. Financially, it's a bigger stress, because one of you will probably have to give up work in order to care for the child with cancer. So we just wanted to be able to do something at home to really support our families. And what we found with our food parcels, that's just been incredible. It's taken such pressure off financially and emotionally. We also send baking kits every time the children are off school, for instance, or school holidays, because even if a child's not hungry, getting them to play and smell and maybe be brave enough to taste because they're baking has really, really helped keep a positive relationship with food, which is something that we're really, really passionate about. So they're the two main ways in which we help our families in hospital and at home. And then within the next year, we would love to be able to get a vending machine in hospitals. So a vending machine that is stocked with healthier food. So not.
Oh my God, this is music to my ears, Louise. I've been
that we tell with that. They're like,
for a long time.
And I think, again, it comes down to, I think it needs to be choice. It needs to be, because some parents aren't going to be interested, don't want to, and that's absolutely fine. Not everyone chooses to do what we do. But I think let's give everyone a choice. I think giving people a choice is one thing that's really, really important. Two, I think it sends a better message. There is nothing more important than good nutrition in anyone. It makes you feel better. They've started to change now. The government have changed in that they're trying to encourage school children. The meals that are given to school lunches are better, less processed foods, less salt, less sugar. So why are we not doing that in hospitals? Like, for me, that doesn't make sense. Children are poorly in hospital. They should be eating better foods, just as they should be at school. So that's really something that we are looking into. Again, we do school workshops. So we educate children on the importance of good nutrition and eating colour. And we are hopefully, going to be making some bigger changes within the NHS. That's a big goal.
Wow, I love that. I love that mission. And honestly, vending machine, like, I was thinking that myself as a business, set up as a business, as a mom, as an entrepreneur, I was like, oh, I wonder if I can create this healthy. But then you think, would parents buy it? Would children actually, you as a parent want to buy it, but actually your child will eat it, right? It has to be something like
that's where it's got to be full circle, is we've got to be educating the children to help them make the better decisions, supporting the parents. So again, they are able to, but again, just making it more exciting, because every child loves a packet. It doesn't actually matter what's in it. They love a packet. They love to rip it open. So let's just, again, start to, just look at, the types of foods that we're giving to our children. And this isn't like, I don't want parents to feel extra pressure. We don't need more pressure. It's just simply offering an alternative. And like us, like a seed was kind of put in my head. And then when I started to look into it, oh, okay, this is how I can help Dylan's diet. Instead of giving him this, actually this would be far better. And instead of doing this. So again, another thing that we will be doing is having monthly webinars for our parents to offer them just advice, and it will be general. It's not going to be, individual, because we can't do that, but general advice. Instead of giving them this, why don't you try this? Or instead of this, why don't you try that? So it's something tangible that parents can do, because I think when you're told that your child has cancer or any type of illness, you just feel hopeless. What we want to do is give them back some hope and some control in a horrendous situation. Here's something that you can do that will really, really help. And again, because we know the financial strain that eating well can offer to so many, here's a way in which we can help with that as well, because we can actually deliver food to your door. So they were the two things that we really wanted to be able to do, is offer the education, but then the financial support by delivering the food as well.
Oh, I love that approach. I'm just really curious, what type of things would you put into a vending machine?
This is where, again, running a charity is a learning curve. I learned so much in the last 4 years. So obviously we need to be very careful in that there's no nuts, especially as we go into hospitals. We need to be very careful of that. We need to make sure we've got the right permissions from people, because a lot of the time you can't sell individual things. So there's a lot of things that we need to make sure we've got in place before we do it. But ideally, it would be things that are less processed, less sugar, less salt. We would be looking at ingredients of like 10 or less, so that you're not like full of preservatives and additives. So there's lots of things, like lots of hoops that we need to jump through before we get there. But it's happening. So fingers crossed, I would love within the next year to have our first vending machine. And we're hoping that it will be in the Royal Marsden in Sutton. So fingers crossed.
Oh, fantastic. And your aim is to do it across all hospitals, all children's hospitals? That's incredible.
That's like a 10-year goal probably, because it's not a cheap thing to do, but yeah.
So if anyone is listening to this podcast right now and really want to help one way or another, let's say with these vending machines, right? What help would you require right now? This either could be in terms of like information, resources, tags, like whatever.
Absolutely. Any of it.
Yeah, let's make it shorter, right? Let's make it in the next 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, funding, what we would love is for corporate businesses or small businesses to get in touch and say, look, I would love to sponsor a vending machine for 3 years, because we know that it needs to be in place for about 3 years. We know what people are like. First of all, they might be, oh, what's that? It's going to take a little bit of time, and there's going to be a whole thing around it to really help. So that would be the first thing if you're interested. And then obviously permission within the hospitals, because every NHS trust is very different. So making sure we've got the permission and space in the hospitals, because some hospitals just don't have the space for it. So if you work in the NHS and you are interested in having one within your paediatric ward, then yeah, definitely get in touch. And if anyone knows any businesses that make or sell children's food that's less processed, because there's lots. We've started to really partner with some amazing companies. So yeah, if you have one or you know anyone, then just put them in touch with us. Go onto our website, you can fill out a form, and then we can start some conversations for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. And also, if you want to sponsor a vending machine, definitely get in touch. I think that's amazing cause, right? To be able to sponsor a healthy vending machine at children's hospitals, because you are what you eat at the end of the day, isn't it? The best nutrition, obviously the best, I can't say cure, because obviously medicine has its place, but one of the important
and again, I think that's really important, is that we're not saying this will cure your child. It didn't cure Dylan. It absolutely didn't. This is not a cure. This is not a promise, because it's absolutely not. But what I am very strong, what I do strongly believe, is the better you eat, the better you feel. And if we can get children feeling better and themselves getting some understanding of what good nutrition can do, it puts them in control of a horrible situation that they found themselves in. I just think it's so empowering. I think doing the job that I do and seeing the difference and it makes in women when they start to feel better, and this is nothing to do with aesthetics and how we look, this is all to do with how we feel. I think it is so empowering. And I think that's where we've really got to start, focusing, is that I want to empower women through the work that I do, but through the charity, we want to empower families that actually they can really make a difference.
When you feel totally out of control because of illness, actually there are certain elements where you still can be in control, isn't it? And in power. And what about your frozen meals? How do you have a chef? How do you kind of create them? What
So
does that look?
we at the moment work with an incredible company called By Ruby, and they are two women. So they are a female founded business. And they are basically, so they created these incredible meals. They're all home cooked, beautiful ingredients, like they are the best ingredients. And So they are home cooked meals, again, with less salt, less sugar. As you would make them at home. They do like lasagnas, they do curries, they do, your basic, just normal home meals, but just really good quality ingredients. And yeah, they package it all, they do it all. So we don't handle, because I'm not a chef. I don't have that set up. So we use By Ruby for that. And again, our families absolutely love them, absolutely love the meals. So we order it through their website, and then they just deliver it straight to our families, and it's on a subscription as well. So once a family comes on, it's just delivered each month. They just let us know if they want some different meals, and then we select it for them.
Fantastic. So, and you've checked the recipes in terms of the nutrition content. That's amazing. So again, that's another thing that you require funding for, isn't it? Is to be able to.
Yeah, so we know it costs just over £1,000 a year to support a family for a year. That includes everything. They're like, we put them together a little welcome package, then their meals every month, and then the baking kits and other activities throughout the year. So yeah, that it costs us roughly £1,000. So the more funding we get for our families means the more families we can take on. And as we're at that kind of real transition phase where we need to grow, but in order for us to grow, we need to take on staff to support the work that we do, but also we need to source some funding to pay for staff and to pay to support our families, because the most important thing is that we support our families. So we have, the money going to the families, but we're definitely at a stage now where, because the charity is getting bigger and we're getting recognised, we need staff to help me run it all, because as we've said, I can't do it all as much as I would like to. And I know that the charity will really take off once we've got some staff. So we're looking for volunteers at the moment. And yeah, hopefully within the next year we'll take on some staff as well, which will be amazing.
Fantastic. I love your vision. I love what you trying to achieve, and also bring the nutrition to to this place. I don't think I ever came across a charity who do what you do. And
when I
yes,
first started it, I remember thinking, no one's doing what we're doing. Like, why is no one? Is it like illegal? Why is no one doing what we're doing? And I think there's some similarities within some, but yeah, at the moment it's just us. So.
Yeah, well done. And, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it's not always easy, but also inspire others and share your wisdom. Like, one thing I'm taking away, put that oxygen mask on you first. Stop, right? Because it will do good for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much, Louise. Again, if you would like to get in touch with Louise and participate into her charity, there will be links attached to this podcast if you are watching, listening. Otherwise, I'm guessing you've got website, right, for Dylan Strong Foundation?
Yep, it's just the dylanstrongfoundation.co.uk.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Louise.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.